All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming to the next webinar session, which will be on ShareFile. This was one of the things that we wanted to do that we ran across in other sessions when we touched on ShareFile. We had a lot of questions, which led us to believe that there's a lot of confusion about what people need to be backing up, how often they need to be backing up, and what's the best way to back up. What do we need? And what's the purpose really of ShareFile? I wanted to start with the administrative regulations and what it says about ShareFile. And it's, essentially, it says that everyone should upload electronic files of court proceedings through their directory on ShareFile. Any official court reporters that are hired, they need to have the equipment to be able to have electronic files that are shared to ShareFile. And then the minimum is that we upload monthly. However, it's recommended to kind of work it into your work schedule, maybe once a week, things like that. The one thing I can tell you about ShareFile is that we have had more than one reporter who has had to go to the ShareFile to find a file that they just were not finding. And in that sense, it has, I would say that I've returned several files up to the ShareFile from that one point in time a long time ago when they were being archived off onto another server. But now they are all online. Anything done since that change is online. And we are keeping it on indefinitely. So you have unlimited storage through ShareFile. At this point, I think, okay, so files uploaded, and it's in the regs here. Any files uploaded on or after March 2016 are on there indefinitely. So unless you get rid of them, they are there. Anything that you uploaded in a time prior to March 2016, they may be on a removable drive that we have in the office. And it's best that if you guys could just, if you have files prior to that you want to upload, to just go do that again in your spare time as you have time to do that, and like maybe take a month from the past and upload it. Just going back to why do we need this and why we started looking for something like this with ShareFile is as court reporters moved away from having paper coming out of their machine, we needed to make sure that we had a comparable storage facility to store a backup. So we're looking through a lot of technology at that time. It's way before I think even Dropbox became more noticed and more mainstream, and we picked ShareFile as the platform that we are going to use to give you all the ability to upload and back up your files. And we've had some bumps in the road, and there has been some learning curves that we've gone through. Originally, it wasn't unlimited storage, but they have opened it up to unlimited storage, which is great for us because a lot of you are backing up audio sync files along with your files that you have, and that is okay. We are taking up a whole lot of space on ShareFile's cloud, but we have purchased unlimited storage space, which should allow you to back up every file that you want to back up, even more so than what is being required. As long as it's a work file, we're good with you backing that up to ShareFile. Let's see, if there's any questions for my at this point, what I'm going to do, since I am not a court reporter, is I am going to hand this over to Cheryl Baroni, who is the administrator in the 18th Judicial Circuit. She's been my guinea pig for new technology, thank you, Cheryl, for a long time. And so I usually will test things out on her a lot of the time, along with some others, just get their feedback from the court reporter perspective. But not being a court reporter and not having to back up files myself, I needed someone else to be able to talk to you guys on this subject. So I am going to hand it over to Cheryl. Thank you very much, Cheryl, for presenting for me.
You're welcome. Thanks, Tammy. I should have it now, right?
You are on now.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the very basics of ShareFile, and I know there are some of you that are using it and using it the correct way. And so if you are using it, just ignore the part that I'm starting with. So the very basic of it is you're going to go to ShareFile, which is up here, ocr.sharefile.com/authentication/login. If you just go to ocr.sharefile.com, you might get a "this is not a secure site" error message. So you could put in that whole title into the URL. I'm going to log in. You really don't want to be going to the actual website every time. Even though you bookmark it, it's not the easiest way to be using ShareFile. So now I am into the ShareFile actual website, and I went to apps here, and you can, what they are switching over to is using this apps for Windows, Citrix files for Windows, and you would download this, which will then give you this Citrix file icon on your desktop. I have always used this ShareFile desktop app here, which is truly super easy to use, but they are going to be migrating away from that and going to this other Citrix files here. The one thing about the Citrix files here is it actually will show up. I will show you here. It'll show up if you go to my PC. It actually shows up as an S hard drive on your computer. Tammy knows way more about this than I do, of the actual logistics of how it works. But basically, it's storing the immediate stuff on your computer and then going to the cloud. So once you have initially downloaded this app, or you can try downloading the desktop widget, which I do like, that they are going to be eliminating. You would then just go on to you're going to go onto that app, and you're going to go onto there. And once you are on there, the easiest way to start doing this is to make folders for the years. Once you make a folder, you would right click in ShareFile. So right click, and it should allow you to make a new folder right here, folder. I'm going to make one, even though I have one for 20. I don't have one for 2020. So I'm going to make a new folder for 2020. I will name it 2020 All Files. That's what I want to be uploading into any of my files for the year 2020. Now, what you need to do is then create every month. I know this sounds complicated, but it really is not complicated at all. You will go to your desktop, and you're going to make, same thing, right click, make a new folder, name that folder, it's September. Into that folder on your desktop, the most important thing to put in there is your writer files for the month. You can also back up your entire SD cards. And I'm going to make a little confession here. I always thought that I had gone back to my SD cards from when I started here in 2006. I no longer had paper notes. So I was very proud of the fact that I did not have paper notes in the vault downstairs. I've always backed them up to external hard drives. I thought that I had backed up all of those old SD cards onto ShareFile. When I started preparing for this webinar, I realized that, yeah, I never backed up all of my SD cards. And I'm like, how am I going to tell everybody to back up their SD cards when I have not done that? So this morning, I did start backing up old SD cards from my external and some of them actually from the original SD cards onto ShareFile. The reason why I realized this was so important is, even though I have them on my externals, even though I have the original SD cards, I'm 65 years old. Chances are I'm not going to be around working too much longer. So if I take those two externals home with me, because they have other things on them besides just my notes and my Case Catalyst stuff, no one will be able to access what they might need if I'm unable to complete a transcript 5 years from now. I have had the horrible experience of trying to find notes in the vault downstairs for people who decided that they did not need to use paper notes when they did not have an SD card machine. There's nothing. We can't. They backed up some bad files from their XEC 2000, I don't know, 2001. Someone backed up from an XEC 5. There's no way of recovering that. But the great thing about the Mira and the Diamante, and even if you have an old Stentura, you can back up all of those diskettes and those SD cards onto ShareFile. It's just invaluable as being a supervisor or an administrator to be able to go on to ShareFile, go to that person's account and find something that you can no longer find, that's not in the vault, obviously, if they're not paper notes, and that they have backed up onto ShareFile. So I'm going to start with showing you what you would put into this September folder. The first thing that you would do is you would put your SD card, take it out, pop it out of your machine, put it into, this computer does not have an SD card reader, so I have to install a Bonsai, which came with your came with your machine. Now, this SD card that I put in is from 2011, which you can see right here. The way I put it in for a specific reason. When I first started using the Mira, the files were named in the 01, 02, 03 format. The newer machines, the Diamante and the Luminex, automatically name them in a month format, like this. If you can see right here, it says 10/2011, October 2011. These would need to be renamed if you were not going to put them into a folder that encompassed that entire month. So what I want to do first is I would rename this when I went to put it in that folder. So if this was really September of 2020, I would right click on it. It's probably not going to let me. It's not going to let me. My computer's acting very bizarre.
It always does when you're presenting.
Of course it does. Okay, so here.
There is the rename. Is that what you're going for?
Hey, Vanessa.
I'm going to copy it first and rename it when I put it into that September folder, because it might not let me rename it on the SD card. So what I would do I'm right clicking, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go into the September folder that is on my desktop, and I'm going to paste it. Once I paste it in there, now I'm going to rename it. And what I'm going to rename it is, see the date that it was modified here? This is October of a file from October 26th of 2011. That is what I would rename it to be. SD card. It would actually be okay. See, it's not letting me do it within here. It would be okay to keep it as this, as long as it's in this September folder. It won't overwrite. But if you put another file in there, as file 001, it would overwrite the other one. And that's the one thing you don't want to do, because then you've just lost the original one. I'm going to copy this and paste it into here.
The thing about ShareFile as a drive, which you're not used to using yet because you use the desktop app, is you could actually just do this straight into your ShareFile. Unless you want to keep it for yourself as well. I mean, if you're copying it to two different places, I see why you would do this. But see, Citrix is over on the right as a drive now for ShareFile, and you could do this directly into ShareFile as well.
The only reason for not doing that is because when you back it up to ShareFile, you should be backing it up to an external hard drive also.
Right.
But Tammy's 100% correct. By me always using this desktop widget here, that was, you had to have it from your desktop to drop and drag. Once now using the Citrix program, you don't have to do that. The next thing that you would want to put into this folder would be your PDFs from the month, so that if a transcript is ever ordered, that it was from 15 years ago, and Case Catalyst, you're now on version 30, and that was done in version 20, and you can't read it through Case Catalyst anymore. You can always print that transcript as a PDF for someone who's reordering it. So within your PDF folder that's on your desktop, you would just copy and paste the month's worth of PDFs that you want to put in there. Copy, right click, same thing.
Just as a reminder, the account domain is OCR. So
okay, that's good. Oh, thank you very much.
That is the most commonly asked question, and we do have that in the handout materials.
That is in the materials, that it's OCR, because once you're into this app, the first time you open it, you need that domain name of OCR. So now in here, I'm going to make a folder that just says PDFs. In that folder, I'm going to paste in my month's worth of PDFs that I did. And then the next two things, like I said, the most important thing is the SD card, putting your month's notes of from the SD card into that folder. The next thing is anything that you really want, but go into Case Catalyst and back up. You cannot copy, you have to back up, or Case Catalyst will never be able to open it when you restore it. You would go here to back up. Obviously, I don't have transcripts anymore because I'm really not reporting. I have a few transcripts that are in here. I would back up my transcripts from September into that folder that's on my desktop. So when it asks you where you want to go, where you want it to go, I'm going to browse here to where I'm backing it up to. I'm looking for the folder on my desktop that I just created, which is the September 2020 folder. Click on that, hit OK. So now everything that I have done, obviously it's for all of 2020, but I'm just showing you how you're going to be putting it into that folder, is going to go into that same folder that now can be backed up into. So now in this folder, I have my PDFs, I have all transcripts. You would just want to do September's. This would be September, it would say 2020 and then 09. So it would be your notes from your writer, your raw notes, and then it would have your PDFs. So now once you have those three things, it can be four, because you can back up your transcripts and your note files within Case Catalyst and your personal dictionary. If you're backing up your note files within Case Catalyst, you need to be backing up your dictionary. Otherwise, it's pretty useless. You can back up your system files. you should be putting all of your system files at least every 6 months into ShareFile, so that if you ever need to restore them to have a dictionary that's current with when those notes were, you can restore that. So once you have this folder, you would either go to the ShareFile Desktop App, which I really do hope that they don't eliminate that, but they're going to. I would go to my 2020 All Files folder. I just created that folder earlier, and I'm going to drop and drag it. Now, it takes a while for things to upload to ShareFile, especially if you are on a Wi-Fi network. So you would look here, folders, and go to the queue. Do not exit out if this is still in progress, because ShareFile will not have accepted it. You need to make sure that within the queue, before you exit out, that it is uploading. If I wanted to use, I'm gonna close this out, but if I wanted to use the Citrix, the other icon of how we're doing Citrix now, and I go once again to my folder, 2020 All Files, it's already uploading here, but otherwise I could either just drop it and drag it, or, I mean, Tammy, you can jump in here because I'm not really used to using this.
So it's essentially just as if it was a drive, and you can drag and drop, like if you were to move something, like if you were in, you know what I do on my computer is, like, if you go back up a level to your the C Brony drive, so you can actually make this, pin this to your files that you use very commonly, and it would be at the top of, see, that's how I have it done, like the files I use for work. If you were to say right click on that All Files, 2020 All Files folder, and then pin it to your start, see where it says pin to start right in the middle of that menu. Like it,
so that you would find it down.
So scroll up on your scroll bar on the left side.
Here?
Yeah.
Up.
Maybe it's not there. Maybe it's on your start. Oh, maybe it has to be pinned to favorites or something. So is it on your start menu?
Yeah, the start menu.
Okay. So right click on that again. I'm sorry.
And
see how
the 2020
yeah.
off.
Let me see the menu on that again. Oh, pin to quick access. That's what I meant. The third one down. So if you pin that to the quick access, you see where it's there right under your pictures on the left side, on the very top. So that becomes like your easy drive to get to. And you can just access it at any time if you use it that way. And then you can unpin it
so
when you're done with 2020, and then you can repin it so yeah, you click on that and it takes you straight to your 2020 files.
Okay.
So that's a quick and easy way.
I'm definitely not used to using it that way, because I've always used the desktop widget.
If you've always used the desktop app, there's a little bit of a learning curve. And but like we said earlier, so we're kind of teaching this in a couple different ways. One being the Citrix files, where it becomes like a folder on your computer, a local folder, and it copies to the cloud. Or if you've got the desktop app from before and it's still letting you use it, and that's what you're comfortable with, feel free to keep using that. But the last thing they said on their website is they're going to start phasing that app out. So if you've just been uploading through the website at this point, like go to the website and create your files there and upload them, that's fine as well. And you will always have that access. But I encourage you to check out the ShareFile or the Citrix files for Windows, because it is it is easier to me. You don't have to go to a website. You don't have to log in. You can just use it like it's a drive. So anything that you have access to on your computer, you can copy over there. You can just copy and paste it in there or do whatever you want. And then you can pin it to your quick access. So you can get to your 2020 files at all time from your computer. So I like where they're going with this. Some of you may not be used to it. Some of you may just have been uploading through the website, which I think is like a cumbersome extra process. But if you ever needed to get to your files from a different computer, the website's great because you would log in as you and you'd still have access to those same files. And so that's kind of what we're going through at this point is you can do it several ways. And whatever you're most comfortable with is fine. And this is how you can tell that that they're up there. So if you can see it in this drive, they're backed up. They are on the cloud and they are backed up for you. So I like that part of it. We can also go through the website and how that works, certainly, because I know some people are just preferring to do it that way. There are a couple of points that we would want to make about that because there's some things that can happen while you're in the website, and it's a very common mistake. So I do want to go over the website as well.
I just want to spend a couple of minutes going over the copying of an SD card again, because if this is my ShareFile account and this is what it looks like. I have 2006 notes. If I double click on this, you will see my monthly notes within there. The same thing, if I go to 2006 transcripts, you will see all of my transcripts within there. Do you see the zip on here? This means that it is zipped through Case Catalyst. Back in the day, that was the only way that I uploaded stuff, was to do it through Case Catalyst. So if I need to bring this back into Case Catalyst, what I have to do is I have to, see, I'm not used to doing it in this. I'm going to go through the ShareFile Desktop app. If I needed to download something, it's very simple to do it in here. In 2007, say for instance, I can't find a transcript that I did in September of 2007. If I couldn't find it within my PDFs that I did then, I want to reload my notes from Case Catalyst. So what you have to do is it's called downloading it right here on the bottom. You can see it. You're going to download it to your computer. I'm going to download it to my desktop. And once I download it to my desktop, I can then restore it back into Case Catalyst. Remember that it's a zipped file, so the only way that you can get it back into Case Catalyst is to restore it. And it's probably going to take a while. As you can see here, it's taking a while for it to download into back to my desktop. Once it has downloaded, it can be restored into Case Catalyst. I should have probably downloaded note files to show you how. I'm going to download note files because that's really probably right click. I'm going to right click my 2017 September note files and download them once again to my desktop. And you need to, for note files, this is really important. For note files to get back into Case Catalyst, you need to restore. So I'm going to open up Case Catalyst. Actually, I think I have it open here on the bottom. I'm going to go to restore here.
So those of you not on Case Catalyst, I'm assuming that your system has something very similar to that. I hope that this isn't totally lost on you. I'm hoping that there is a comparable system, how it operates in, say, Eclipse or some of the other software.
And so then you would just restore these notes, September, click open. So it's really very basic of what you would do. If you did not have note files in Case Catalyst and you wanted to restore Your raw note files, this is where the raw note files are very important. Say now it's 2030 and you have old notes that you want to read into whatever software you're in. You need to use the README function. And this, I think, is pretty much on every software. They have a README function. I would go to here, the read notes, options. My machine was a Diamante. Well, actually, my machine then, I think, was probably a Mira. Click on browse because I want to look to where it is. Browse here. And I'm looking for those, I'm looking for the notes. I would find the notes. I don't think I downloaded the notes, which I need to do.
Out of curiosity, can you read in from the ShareFile drive?
Directly from?
Yeah, so where you went browse, where you hit the browse on the README, can you scroll all the way down? So there's your Citrix. You're going to click on that.
This way. I would click on this.
Well, you can go further. So I think you're going to have to open it to your folders.
Folders. I have to go to, once again, you have to remember that I have full access to other people. So, and then I would go to my SD cards, which I've started backing up today.
And could you pull one of those directly in?
I'm going to try right now. Click on OK. It's telling me no files.
I don't think you were still on the folder, not on the file. So browse again and go down one more level. So see if you, yeah. Too far.
Too far is right. I'm going to go into 2018 all files.
Okay.
Because then it would be.
So if you double click on that, would it bring you into the folder?
Yeah. No, Case Catalyst is not letting me into it.
Okay. I was curious if you could do it directly from there, but it doesn't seem like it's letting you.
So I'm going to go back to desktop. I downloaded the SD card here. So I'm going to click OK. Here's all the notes that were on the SD card. And now I would read them in just like I would have originally read them in for my original SD card back in whatever year it was, 2009. Now, I don't know if anyone needs me to go into more detail on that, but you just remember if you are taking something off of the SD card, you're going to use the README function on your software, not the restore, because those are raw notes. That's the whole purpose of doing the raw notes. No matter what software you're using, what year you are in, you will be able to bring those raw notes in through the README file. So
okay, let's stop for a minute and recap because I think we just covered a whole lot of stuff. Carrie's saying she hopes she's not the only one that's totally confused right now. Okay, so we're talking about a lot of stuff here, and this is why we felt like ShareFile is one of the most misunderstood things. We have gone over 2 of the 3 ways that you can. And I know there's a lot of people doing it different. So it's very hard to present this without covering all 3 ways. And so we have covered, if you use the desktop app, the desktop widget is what it was called originally. That was one way. The Citrix ShareFile, which is the blue S you can see on the right side of the screen, that's kind of the new way they're going to. If you want to use an app that is not, so you don't have to go to the website each time. And number 3, and I think there's a whole lot of people who still go to the website. It's probably the hardest way to use ShareFile, but if you're used to that, we can, you know, that's certainly fine for you to do. So if I could have Cheryl pull up the website for ShareFile, and that's the third way. So that way we can show you how you would make folders there. And then she briefly touched on how you bring stuff back, especially if you need to read it into your software. We're stressing today about backing up your raw notes from your writer, not read through your software. And the reason why we stress that is because if we're 5, 10 versions of your software down the road, or your software becomes obsolete, if you're only backing up your software files, we will not have access to your stuff. You might as well not back it up. We need, if you're backing up raw notes, if you're backing up dictionaries, if you're backing up completed PDFs, those are the main things that we need on ShareFile that is comparable to you turning in paper notes in the past. What additionally you back up, which is your stuff read through your software, that's fine for you. You can back up whatever you want. Any of your files that you use for work, you can back up there. That's not a problem. We don't care, you know, we don't care that you're backing up more than you need. That's what this is here for. This is a free service offered to you as an official court reporter to back up your stuff with unlimited access to the size, because size was a problem, especially if you have audio sync files that are tied to your notes, because it takes up a lot of space and people were having to spend a lot of money on things to back this up. So at the very minimum, you have access to a free backup system. Laura also asked, she's a new official court reporter. Welcome, Laura. And she was freelancing before she came. And she wants to know if she can back up work from that freelance work. You're more than welcome to do that. You'd want to name it separately. Really what we see ShareFile is like kind of a worst case scenario. What used to happen if a reporter was long gone, either no longer with us or moved down to Florida and is no longer accepting our phone calls, we would need a way to get that transcript still. And this way, before we go down and start looking through the big boxes of paper in a basement, and we'd have to find those paper notes and someone else would have to create that transcript. As it says in the regs, the person who took the notes in the first place will always have the first right of refusal. Like, you have the first right to do that transcript. Nobody else wants to do your transcripts for you. So we would prefer the person who took the notes be the person who creates a transcript. So if there's any trust issues here, we don't want to find someone to do your transcripts. We would love for you to do your transcripts and for you to get the transcript income from that. There, we gain nothing by saying, by doing your transcripts for you. We're still paying someone to do it. So we want you as a reporter who took it originally to do it. But we also know that sometimes people, we no longer can get a hold of them. So we really do need a way to access your files when you worked as an official. So back up whatever you can, but we do need those raw notes. We do need completed PDFs, and we do need, like if you could do your dictionaries back up in your system files every once in a while, then that would make it easier for someone else to complete your work if you're not available to do that. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
I just need to touch on the SD cards again, because if you have you put the SD card into your SD card reader, and what happens when you look at it, if you double click on it, it opens up and looks like this. This is really important. If you take nothing away from today, take this away. Case Catalyst or any other program cannot read those notes as they're separated like this. There's too many file extensions. You need to copy and paste the folder. the whole folder, or your software will not be able to read it. You cannot double click, and this is what I found when I was going through some of the reporters' ShareFile, was that they were opening up the folder and then copying and putting them into ShareFile this way. Case Catalyst or your software won't be able, see where all these file extensions are, your WAV file, your Steno, it won't be able to read back into Case Catalyst under that README option. So you have to remember, when you are copying anything into, you need to, when you put that SD card into your SD card reader, it will look like this. You just need to copy the whole entire SD card entirely. You need to copy this folder. Do not double click on it and copy these and put them onto ShareFile, because your software will not be able to read it as a full, complete text of all the folders that go into it. I hope I'm making sense with that. I might not be, but when you put that SD card into the reader, it's going to look like this. You do not want to click and have them open like this. Your software will not be able to read that. And your ShareFile should look organized when you go into it. I mean, I have access to everybody's, and when I look at some of the people's ShareFile folders, it's very, very difficult to be able, and I have Noelle's permission, who works here, to be able to look at hers, but hers are very organized. You can see where things are organized. But if you click on some of these folders, she hasn't uploaded everything into it. See how if it shows a question mark here, that's nothing you could even work with. ShareFile is not going to work to put these back in. What she did was she opened up her SD card, her raw notes folder. She opened up that file folder, and this is what she has in ShareFile. The only way that she would be able to bring it back into Case Catalyst is if she found every single file extension that was from that same day, clicked on it, and then restored it, and then hopefully bring it in through the README option on your software. It'll work. But when she copied these, she needed to copy the whole file folder, and that is a problem with one of the things that's within her ShareFile. But there are some people's ShareFile that you go to look into it, and Noelle's looks very organized. The only thing that she would do to maybe make this be more organized would be make a whole year folder within it, so that there aren't so many things to go through. Like if you look at my ShareFile, see it's 2006, 2006, 2007. If you want to sort it within there, within ShareFile, all you do is click on this, and it'll sort it down from the last to the top. This is giving me, if I sort it this way, it gives me the oldest thing. Or you can sort it by the day it was uploaded. If I'm trying to find something I uploaded in 2015, I would maybe sort it by when it was uploaded. But if you see something here on the size, you go to upload something into ShareFile. I'm going to go to something from 2015. If it's showing it's a really small size, chances are your Wi-Fi cut out, it didn't upload correctly. If there's a question mark, it means it didn't upload correctly.
I think the question mark means that ShareFile doesn't know what program opens that file. So,
right, but it also will do a question mark if it hasn't done a full, it'll come up as a question mark if it hasn't done an entire upload. If it got interrupted in the middle of uploading, say it was going to upload a whole gigabyte and it didn't, your Wi-Fi got cut out, somehow it didn't take it all, it'll also put a question mark there. So it means it's not right that way either.
Okay, because I do know that ShareFile will let you preview files that it understands. So if it were like a JPEG or if it was a PDF, like you could click on it and it will preview the file for you in the website. So when it sees those SNG, it doesn't know what to open it with. So those files from your Case Catalyst or your system, your Eclipse or whatever, if it's a software file, it will not understand. And that's why the WAV files aren't question marks, because it knows what a WAV file is. It will actually preview your WAV files from the website.
But any of the files through your software will be zipped, so you cannot preview them.
Right, you can't preview those. So I'm going to go back. There's some questions that are popping up, so I want to make sure that I get those answered while we're here. Just as a recap, we've gone through 3 different ways that you can access ShareFile, just to make sure, because we know that people are doing it different ways. It seems like a lot, but if we're going over a way that you're not using, then you don't necessarily need to pay attention, except for the Citrix way, because that way is, that's the way it's going as far as if you have an app. Now you could continue to use the website.
If you're logging onto the website, I really do think that you're taking a lot of unnecessary time. You really need to be using either this Citrix one, or for as long as you can, the ShareFile Desktop. The ShareFile Desktop, for as long as it works, is so much easier than every single time you logging onto the website. Correct. And if you are logging onto the website, just go to up here to apps and download apps for Windows. They may not even have the other one on here anymore.
It is. It's a row up. Like the desktop app is right there. These are the different apps that you can use. The ones that we're really going to focus on mostly are the desktop app, but they claim they're phasing it out, but it's still working. So, but if you haven't downloaded an app yet, get the Citrix files for Windows right there, because it is going to be a lot easier. Okay, so Sarah says, if an official switches to freelance, say they retire, whatever happens, and they're using their state computer email address for ShareFile account, how would you access that? You can go to the website at any time. So once you have access to ShareFile, we're not going to take away your access to ShareFile. We don't prefer that, like if you are retired and you start like freelancing or whatever, that you continue to use it to back up your files, but we don't want you to lose access to the files you have backed up as an official. So you can change your email in your account settings. You won't lose access. You can still log in with using that email as your username, but you can't, if you wanted to reset it, it might send a reset to your work email. But you can change your email address in ShareFile under your account settings. So you will retain access to ShareFile even if you've retired or what has happened. If you've separated service from us, you can still have access to your files. So,
Tammy, do you want me to go over real quick if they want to upload old stuff onto ShareFile, like if they have old diskettes, which could very easily go bad, how you would do that?
Yes, and one thing I do want to tell people that I know what has happened as far as if you're using the website, the most common thing that I have seen where people have lost their files, they're like, I uploaded them. I know I uploaded them. I saw it upload, but I can't find them on ShareFile. Most common reason is like, Cheryl, if you could just create a new file using the website right now on the plus button. So plus button, create folder. So what they're doing is like, say, they're calling it April, 2021. Just do that. And then they're creating the folder. Now, notice you're sitting in April 2021 right now. So what they're doing is now they're creating May 2021 just by clicking that plus sign. Like, so if you go to the plus, make a new folder, and they're creating May. So they'll upload April's files, and then they'll create a folder while they're sitting in April 2021. So if you create a new folder, so now you're putting May 2021 underneath April. So if you get to a point where you're like, I swear I uploaded those files and I don't know where they're at, look in the other folders that you also created on that same day, because likely, see now, May 2021 is embedded under April 2021.
See here where 18th is all of the people that are in that I have access to. You would not have access to that. But if you see here, you see the file, the path of where it is. So if I go back to Cheryl Baroni, April, and now I just created May within April. If I go back to Cheryl Baroni and I go to 2006 transcripts, I'm just in 2000 in transcripts. But like Tammy just told you, you just, by doing that, you put a file folder within a file folder. So that's why you're best off creating the 2020 folder and then moving things into there, because of dragging things into there, because otherwise, if you keep creating folders within folders, you're going to have like a root directory that is so screwed up.
I have seen someone who went and, they were doing really good. They backed up all their files from like a decade ago, but every time they made a new folder, they made it under the last folder. And I saw like 17 levels of files because they kept making it under the next level. So just make sure when you create a folder through the website, you're where you think you should be. Let's see. So
and that's where you see that here, the path here at the very top. I'm in the actual website though.
So now you're in the root of your folder, and that's where you should be when you create a new folder, unless you've created one for the year and you're making ones for each month under the year. So just make sure you know where you're at before you create a new folder.
Always look there to see where your root is, because otherwise I would be creating it within another folder, which really, then you really won't be able to find things.
Right. And they haven't been able to find it. But if you get into a real trouble and you are using the website, you can use the search function to try to find your folder. So if she were to click on that spyglass that's
right here,
help, and put in May 2021 or just 2021, she would find out the 2021 folders would start
right here. They're going to
right. I was like, it's gonna make me a liar. So it's gonna show you. It's gonna show you everyone's. Never mind.
So everyone.
It's showing all the reporters folders in her circuit, but in your folder, it would only show you that. So that's how you find it. If you want to find a folder that you uploaded, you can use the search function here. So some more questions here. If you right click to copy and it won't let you go anywhere to paste without double clicking and seeing those separate folders. Right. This is, if you're on the website, you're going to have a lot less functionality than if you were using like the Citrix files. So in order to copy and paste in the website, I think you actually have to select it.
You have to, in the website, you actually have to
move the file.
Upload.
Well, if you click on, say, your 2026 transcripts checkbox there, if you hit the checkbox and then go under, see, you can copy there and then go to the right folder and then, or move it, things, you can do stuff there. But like I said, like you can move stuff around in there to a point, but it will really be easier to do if you are in the Citrix files, because then it'll look like any other like directory that's on your computer. It functions different ways depending how you're using it. And if you are just using the website and logging in all the time, I just go get the Citrix app and see if that's a better option for you. I think you'll like it once you get used to it.
I totally agree that it's a lot easier to use. I just want to talk real quick about, and I know it's 4 o'clock and everyone wants to go, but all of your old necessarily your SD cards. You could definitely go in and totally copy all of your SD cards that you've been saving for the last 10 years, make a folder onto ShareFile that is SD cards, and start individually copying the entire SD cards, naming them, and copying them into, name them however you want them, and copy them into ShareFile. The other thing you could do here is to start copying your old diskettes that you would put into an A drive. The only thing about copying old diskettes is you have to make sure on your desktop that you put them into a folder and rename that folder and then put them into ShareFile, because on those old diskettes, everything is named as file 001, 002. And if you start doing that and just dropping them into ShareFile, they're gonna overwrite. So make a folder that's from 1997 if you want, and start backing up those old diskettes, because eventually those diskettes can go bad, and if you need them, that's the best way to be able to read them into your software, is to have the diskettes in ShareFile. You would download it back to your desktop and then read it back into your software just like you would if it was original diskette. I don't know if we really don't have time for me to show that, but
what we can do is that's the main part of the presentation. If anybody has to leave, feel free to leave. But Cheryl, if you're willing, we can go over some of these questions that are still here for people who want to hang around, and we can talk a little more about some of these questions. Someone asked about, can you copy a raw notes file from Case into ShareFile, and then for retrieval, can you copy it back into Case and use read notes function to bring them up the raw notes and then translate? So that's
say it again.
So there's a bunch of questions still left. So anyone who needs to leave, feel free to go, and then we'll talk about some of these other things that are on here. So Nancy says, can you copy, I think she's asking you to do this or like demonstrate it. Can you copy a raw notes file from Case into ShareFile? Then for retrieval, can you copy it back into Case and use the read notes function to bring up the raw notes and then translate them?
Okay, so first of all, once something is in Case Catalyst, it is no longer your raw notes. The only thing that are your raw notes are your SD cards, the original SD cards, or your original floppy disk that was made by a Stentura or a Smart Writer or any of those. So you're kind of confusing raw notes with notes that have been read into Case Catalyst. Once notes that are read into Case Catalyst have been read into Case Catalyst or Eclipse or any other software program, those notes are now proprietary to Eclipse, Case Catalyst, StenoCat. They are no longer considered raw notes. Only thing raw notes are your SD cards or your diskettes. If you are trying to get something in that you took off that is note files from that you put into Case Catalyst, then you use the restore function. If it's something that's already been in Case Catalyst one time, you use restore. Otherwise, if it's raw notes, you use the README. So it's kind of apples and oranges. It's not the same thing. Anything that has been in Case Catalyst will have a zip on it, and it has to be, whenever file has a zipper on it, it has to be restored using this restore function. It should be backed up, which gives it the zip, and restored using the restore function. So, Tammy, does that answer her question?
I can't tell you. I mean, I think that we can, yeah, she said, thanks for answering my question. A couple things, other things that I want to touch on. Someone asked if it asks to use a folder template. You don't need to use a folder template. Now, if you want to create your own folder template, like if you create a new year and it automatically makes a template for it, you can do that. But it doesn't really matter what you do on that. So, and then Mary Ann, you're asking about renaming the files, the older files that were file 001, etc. What I usually suggest for that, if you have the older files that you're backing up and renaming, if you go ahead and put them in a folder with that's named the spans of those dates. So if your file 001 started and that really was like September 1st of 2003, make your September 2003 folder, copy those over in there, or whatever span it is, name the folder the date span of that SD card, and then copy the files into that folder. And then you have the folder that properly has the names, and you won't overwrite another file 001 from a different SD card. You just want to get them in a folder first. If you don't want to rename them, a folder named the span of the dates that SD card covers. So it might be like 2003, September 3rd through, 2004, January 5th, whatever span that encompasses, copy them in there, and then you know where to find them, that span of files from that date span. So everything's related to a date, so we can go back and find them. And what I'd like everyone to really think about as they're uploading to ShareFile is, if someone else who didn't know me got into this folder and needed to find a file from September of 2006, could they find it? So that, and how long would it take them? So that's a way of knowing, it's like, are my files organized, or are they not organized? And I have seen some folders, because I can see everyone's folder, that some, there are people who are just dumping every file into one folder. And so that is very hard to find a file in. And so just, if you think about that, at the very least, get stuff organized into years. That would be great. Okay, so let's see.
You could move within ShareFile very easily. So once you create that folder, then you could just start moving things.
Yeah.
So the stuff that you have in there that's kind of willy-nilly, start moving it around.
So Rachel's saying it's uploading the SD card that's the problem, and she can't get Citrix to open on her desktop or laptop. Okay. So if you're having technical difficulties with the Citrix, you download the program and then run the install. If it's installed onto your computer, it will want you to log in the first time. Now, if you're having technical difficulties, touch base with me after the session, because there's a couple of places where it can go wrong, or there is like a login screen that popped up and it's asking you for your domain, and you need to enter OCR in there and then install it, and then it will copy into your drive like Cheryl is showing on the screen right now. And so I think that,
I do think that the handout is pretty self-explanatory. We kind of jumped around places, and I feel bad for that. But if they follow the handout really kind of does a step-by-step.
Right. So the handout that we emailed out, that we really didn't even like go over directly, we just kind of talked. But the handout is some step-by-step on doing some things in ShareFile. And of course, Cheryl and I are always here to, like, if you're having technical difficulties or you need a little help on the next step or getting past a startup of like Citrix, then feel free to reach out to us and let us know how, what's going on with you, so we can try to get you past that. So let's see, Deb, in Case Catalyst, if you have 2 or more diskettes that span a job, Case Cat Tech told me I may need diskettes to access the notes, that they may not be accessible when copied to a backup. I don't know about that. I mean, I wouldn't know anything about that part. So she's just saying that's what somebody had told her. We'll find out how that works on the older jobs. I think Cheryl can test that out. Brenda is interested in seeing an example from Cheryl on how to do with the diskette file, if possible, because she has several to back up to ShareFile.
Okay, so you would plug in your external, which I do not have an external on this. I mean, external A drive on this. once the external A drive is plugged in, floppy disk A, I will double click on it. Here are all the files that are within that, that are on that floppy disk. What I would do would be, I would make a folder on my computer. So this is from 4/16 of 2001, new folder. I'm going to name it as April. It's April, actually, April 16th. Your naming, you can do out however you want it. You just want to make sure that however you name it, you're going to be able to find it. I'm going to make sure I include that text folder that's on the top. Highlight them all, right-click copy, and I'm going to paste them into here. So basically now, when I put this onto ShareFile, it is just like having that diskette on ShareFile. So I'm going to, once they're copied into that folder, you should also be backing these up onto an external. Don't use ShareFile as your only method of backup. You still want to have an external or two that you're backing up to. So once these items, these files are totally copied into this file folder, I would upload them then to ShareFile. I'm not going to go through, it would be the same basic way that you would upload it to ShareFile, but what I will show you is how, if somebody wants to be able to get it into Case Catalyst. So if this was on this was on ShareFile, I would download it from ShareFile back to my desktop, and then I will go to my read notes right here. And because it's still stuck on the last one I had in there, I would have to, if that wasn't on there, it would ask me, I would browse to where I was looking for. I would find this folder on my desktop, double click on it, and then it would read those files in again. You have to use the README function to get those back in, but you have to remember that you need to rename those files on that diskette, name the folder. Otherwise, if you put a bunch into one folder, they're going to overwrite each other, because they're, see, when I clicked on them, they're all 01, 02. The next diskette that I would pop in would have the exact same file extension, and they would overwrite each other. If you have a question about doing that, my number is 630-407-8891. I can walk you through it. Feel free to call me.
Okay.
Tammy?
I'm answering a question by typing. So Jessa said, just to confirm, when you put the raw notes into your drive, you copy and paste the folder, correct? If it's a zip file, it won't be accessible in a later version of CAT.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So you're just gonna, the notes are just gonna be as they were on your SD card, not read into your software yet, although you can in addition store those files if you want. But at this point, you're just gonna want to copy your SD card as it is into a folder that's designated so you know how to find those notes later.
And remember, do not, when you are copying that whole SD card, do not open it up to where you see those individual WAV files, the note files. You need to be one level up before you copy it and paste it, because otherwise Case Catalyst won't, or your software, I'm not just talking about Case Catalyst, your software won't be able to find it if it's just it needs to be in the package.
So you need the folder, not just the files.
Not just the files. I'm sure I'm not explaining myself correctly, but if I stick an SD card in, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'll show you on ShareFile. If I open up an SD card, so here you need to copy this whole, the 2008 means the file was written in on your steno machine in 2008, and this is October. You need to copy and paste this whole thing. If you open it up to go down one level and copy these, your software will never be able to read it because all these separate file extensions are no longer together like they are in this whole folder.
Okay, I have seen somebody's folders that they're just dumping all those files in with no folder.
I have too, and I realize that they're not going to be able to. I mean, I can go into somebody's and it's pretty much that way. They just put the like this. You're not going to be able to, their software's not going to be able to read these because they're not in a package together. See all these ones here? They were all created on the same date, but your software won't be able to read them because they're not in that file folder package.
So your software wants to look for
the whole package.
The whole thing. Okay. So Robin says, you can't just download the steno file if needed later and then read into case?
You can't just download the steno file. No, it needs those other file extensions to be able to read it. It's not going to just be able to read the steno file. And why would you want to do that without having your audio with it? There's other things in there besides
he's talking
steno.
like versus the raw notes.
No, she's talking about within, if I open up this SD card, one of the things in there is your raw notes. Right.
Yeah.
See, there's WAV files, but see,
right.
It needs to have these question mark files along with it.
Yeah. Okay. That's beyond me. Let's see. Carrie's asking, is README the same as read on Case Catalyst? So I'm not sure. That's a software question.
It's the same thing.
She says yes. Okay. Okay. So I
know we kind of were all over the place because but really the handout is really very organized, unlike my thoughts were today.
Right. And the hard part is, as we had to touch on 3 different ways. And so it seemed confusing if you're looking at all of it. But thank you for everyone with sticking with us this far. If anything, it got you to think about how you're storing your files on ShareFile and realizing how important it is. That's if that's the only thing you took away and that you're going to ask questions later, that's fine. We just mostly wanted to know how important it was, and then also how to just how to do these different things and how to go away from using the website unless you're just have to do that website. There's apps that make it easier. So if that's all we got, then that's great. Cheryl, you want to repeat your phone number so we can put it in the chat here if somebody wants to contact you?
It's 630-407-8891. And the other thing to take away from all of this is your raw notes. Copy your SD cards into ShareFile. Copy your old diskettes into ShareFile. It's just like your old boxes of notes. Nothing else means anything if you can't read your notes.
Correct. Okay, well, thank you, Cheryl. We're going to, if you got lost and you want to rewatch this video, we are going to produce a recording of it so the people who couldn't be here today can watch it. So appreciate you all taking your time out to watch the live and ask some questions. And Cheryl, thank you very much for presenting again. Everyone,
you're welcome.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.